Did you look at the time lapse camera?
Yeah, it's really cool.
Isn't that cool?
Yeah. Sounds like it's going to get added to the webpage.
Yeah, it's a big mud pile.
Yeah.
Mud bog.
It's very cool. Who's the company that set that up?
I can't remember, but contractor, McKellen, William McKellen, they're the ones that set it up for me. Through whatever company that they do it. And so we get it through the end of the project. A little bit more expensive than I thought it should be, could be
Well,
3,000.
oh, really?
But you can actually move the camera.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Oh, I guess Libby's in charge.
I'm seeing only me and Nancy on from the committee. Is that correct?
That's all I'm seeing.
Niall said he wasn't able to make it today.
Okay.
I saw that email.
Give it about one more minute and then we'll get started. If
Yep.
we got to roll without a quorum, then we'll do that.
Yep, we can do that. Mr. Bonstock, how you doing?
Busy, but busy is good.
Okay.
I'm,
I don't know about
I'm
busy.
excited to hand over the reins on Monday to somebody.
I don't think anybody wants it, so you're gonna be stuck with it.
Somebody's gonna get thrust into that position then.
I did meet with Tori's replacement, and she's gonna be there. She got sworn in. She's a pretty sharp gal. I'm excited for her to be on the board.
Is it, I ran into Blue Ball the other day. Is it Lucia?
Lucia. Yeah.
Lucia?
Yep.
All right, I'm excited to meet her.
But she's too new to be the president, so you can't do that to her.
Yeah. I think it's going to be Phil Simon.
And Alejo said no.
Yeah, for good reason.
Maybe.
That's exciting for him. I'm happy. All right. Well, we got 3. So we'll get started and roll without a quorum for now. If anybody else joins us, that's great. If not, we can at least talk about some of these subjects. Any announcements? Call this meeting to order, 4:03, but any announcements?
I just need to know what Mr. Michael Ward's eating and if he's gonna share with everybody. Some cheese.
Not cheese. It's a banana. I'm getting a little late afternoon energy here, Troy.
Get your potassium going. All right.
There you go.
So public comment, approved minutes, or announcements. We don't have any announcements.
No.
I don't think we have any public comment either.
No.
We don't have any minutes to approve because we didn't have a meeting last time. Well, quorum for a meeting.
Yeah.
So, all right.
Let's
So-
jump right into it then.
Okay. One item that I didn't put in here, but I want to give a quick update. The recruitment process for the golf director. So Nancy is on the panel. Mr. Fostock, you're on the panel. It's a huge panel. We actually split it into 2, panel A and panel B. We have golfers and stakeholders in panel A, and panel B is staff. So it's going to be really interesting. We got 6 candidates. I sent out the applications and the resumes and to all the panelists so they could be familiar with the candidates. So we have The first round of interviews is on Friday, the 13th, and that's a lucky day. I'm sure for somebody it's going to be a really lucky day. And then from there, either 2 or 3 finalists will be the second round or the final round, which is on Friday, the 27th. That one will be in person. The one on Friday the 13th is going to be a video call, but all the panelists are going to come here to the 11th floor. So I have 2 different rooms. And what's going to happen is candidate 1 and 2 will start off at 8:30, and then at 9:30 they switch, and then so that's 9:30 to 10:30, and then from 10:30 to 11:30 we'll have candidate 3 and 4, and then they'll switch an hour later. Then we're gonna have lunch. And we'll do the same thing with candidate 5, candidate 6. However, I can make 6 with one hand, and they switch. So it's going to be a long Friday, but I'm going to be providing lunch for all the panelists, and hopefully we can narrow it down to 2 or 3. So I just wanted to give a quick update on that. Make sure if anybody wants to know about it, they can give me a call. All right. Very good. So
Troy, I have a question about that. Sorry.
on the
I have a
panel,
question.
yeah. Let's make sure.
Will we be able to have the interview questions in advance as well?
I think I
Oh, were
emailed
those
you.
there too? I haven't found that.
I think I
Okay.
told you. I think I told you I was going to send them to you, and I sent some information today that I'm going to get it to you guys by next week, probably Monday. So what I have to do is get the interview questions reviewed by HR and make sure that we're not asking anything that is not relevant or illegal to ask or whatnot. So I have to get my questions approved, which I have not got done yet. So,
Okay.
but yes, I'll send them to you ahead of time.
All right, great. Thank you.
Yep. And I think I share that with everybody, all the panelists. So yeah. Okay. Anything else on that particular topic? Okay. All right. So new items for consideration, and these are the things that we talked about last month. And from now until last month, it's become even more apparent that we're going to have to increase our wages. We're going to be seeing more fees for all of our expenses. Our expenses are going to go up. So
That's not the right one.
for the carts,
Mm-mm. There's a revised one.
okay.
Okay, so we won't share that one then.
So we wanted to go over this again in regards to the carts, the
That's what I
memberships.
sent out to them.
Yeah, I sent a revision 4 hours later.
So I think what we're gonna try to do is you're gonna send her the revised and we'll put it back up. Okay. But in general, what we were talking about was
Come on in. Yeah, come on in. Richard's here. Hang on just a moment while he gets into the room. You wanna sit down there?
Hello, Richard.
Hello.
Dropping this in your teams.
Okay.
so last month we had
Are
talked
you
about,
dropping it into the committee, the meeting, or just my personal one?
Your personal one.
so last month we talked about golf cart fee increase, and that the increase would go directly into a replacement fund. So Shannon had done a little bit more research on some of the surrounding courses, and so we have a new updated, but to me that really didn't matter too much because I know that we have an opportunity here to increase the cart fees, and those cart fees will go directly into a replacement fund so we can have incremental replacement of all of our golf carts. So I don't think we still don't, well, do we have a quorum now?
No, you only have 3 members.
The 4.
Oh, 4. Yeah, you have 4 members now, but.
I do have multiple personalities.
Yeah.
That's great. Okay.
There we go. Okay, now let me get over here and share this one. Which is that one. Okay, there's the revised one.
All right. So by location, there's the cart rentals by location of surrounding golf courses. I need to get closer.
I didn't print one.
So we have the rates for 2001, and then we have potential increase with $1, $1.50, $2, and $2.50. So that's kind of what we're looking at that we need to work on to start coming up with a replacement plan for the carts. So in general, I was just wanting to see, are we supportive of this idea? So I want to take it to the park board. I can't take it to the park board next week, so we won't be able to do it until June. But we are losing some opportunities to raise some revenue. And we do know, like I mentioned earlier, is that we're losing a lot of, not losing, but we do have a lot more expenses, especially as we're starting to have to pay people more. So the bottom line for the Golf Enterprise Fund needs to increase in revenue so we can make sure that we stay in the black. But also in this situation, we need to raise some funds so we can make sure that we replace the golf carts on a regular basis. So we had a little bit of discussion last month, but just wanted to find out what it is that you guys feel is important. If I can get a recommendation so I can start moving forward to making this happen, or if we don't want to do this at all, I need to know that as well.
Right. What do you recommend, or what does the department recommend for the price increase? I mean, do you have a number that you feel that is such that will put us in slot us where we need to be, but won't run off business?
I would say between $1.50 and $2. And with that also is, I don't necessarily want to come back and ask again in another 6 months or another year, so.
I mean, what do the golf pros think about this? I want to get their input on that question in particular. I mean, what are you guys seeing? What are you hearing at the golf courses? I mean, you guys are there every day. I'm sure you hear some of the scuttlebutt in the pro shops. So what are your thoughts on that?
Is there somebody downstairs?
Yeah. So just sit up there.
Oh,
Oh.
that's letting them into the Teams
Okay,
meeting.
I'm
Yeah.
sorry.
No, there's no.
I just thought it was a quorum.
Yeah, Eddie, I can tell you with some of my customers, as long as they know that money's going back into getting a new fleet and upgrading the golf carts, I don't think they would have any opposition to $1 a person rate increase or even $1.50 to get it to an even number. But yeah, no, they're supportive of it. I think 90% of our clientele understand what kind of value they have right now with our prices, and in an effort to support us, I think they would pay a higher fee.
Thanks, Steve. Yeah, I mean, as long as they know that that money is not just going into a slush fund, and it's being put to good use, in the replacement fund, and they need to know exactly why they're going to be paying more, should we go forward with this. So I would, I mean, in my opinion, just in the business world, I say 250, but again, if Troy, if you think that is we're kind of on the fine line between $2, then $2 is fine with me. But you know, obviously rising fuel costs, you know, getting back to hopefully full staff, you know, we got to start to look at how we're going to offset some of those expenses. Nancy, I see your hand up.
I would say 150. When you compare it to what the other courses in our area are rates are, the 14, if we went up to $14, I think that would be still competitive and raise it significantly. So that would be I wouldn't want to go more than $1.50.
So the comparable, I was looking at this briefly earlier this afternoon. I mean, the comparable golf courses that are listed here are probably Wellington, Cheney, Derby. I'm not sure why Newton's not in there. Why is Sand Creek not involved?
Is it because their cart fee is the same, is built into their green fee?
They were on the sheet and then I made revisions, so they might have gotten removed accidentally, but I will tell you that their green fee includes the cart no matter what.
And what is their, yeah, because you can't walk that course. It's ridiculous for an everyday golfer. What is their green fee exactly? Does anybody have that off the top of their head? Like $38, $40, something like that.
I don't know anybody that pays a full rate out there because they offer discounted rates all the time. So I honestly don't know, but I'll look.
Well, that's one of, you know, a comparable golf course when I look at this. And, you know, I don't know if it's naive of me to think that in Wichita and the Wichita municipality, you're going to have to pay a little bit higher prices anywhere. So I don't think we should be competing with some of the likes of Wedgwood and Cedar Pines and Andover. That's my thought.
I don't necessarily agree. I don't see our courses, well, one of our courses on a competitive level with Sand Creek, but the others, not at this time. I don't see that.
That's chicken before the egg, right? We got to get there somehow.
Yeah.
Michael, what are your thoughts?
Troy, I'm curious. So I'm all in favor of an increase if the fleet needs repaired and the increase is how we get there. Yes, let's go with it. Now, numbers wise, do we know? I can look at this table and I see the difference that it makes, but do we know based off like current market and we discussed some of the impacts of that from a buying standpoint, do we know which increase gets us to replenishment in X amount of years versus, you know, does 1 versus 250 do that in a certain time frame? Do we have any data around what the increase means to 100% replenishment and when that would be? I'd be curious to know that. And then Troy, you bring up a very important point, which is like if you're going to make people feel the pain of this, you know, you might as well go for as much as you can get on the front end, so you don't have to come back kind of hat in hand if you end up doing the numbers or things change down the road and we go, oh man, we kind of undershot our budget here for replenishment. We need another favor. We need another approval. I'd rather just get the cat out of the bag on the first go round. So whatever the highest we can shoot for that helps us replenish the fastest, I think that's where we go and we just do this in one swoop, like you mentioned, Troy.
So to answer a couple of your questions, the idea is a 10-year plan to continually rotating and upgrading the fleet. So maybe it's maybe 8 years. I'm sorry, it was every 8 years. So we would replace the fleet, a quarter of the fleet every 2 years. So to do that, I'm going off of past numbers. To do that, we would probably need somewhere in the neighborhood of about $1 million every 2 years to do that. The prices are increasing every day, and the demand for golf carts is not being met by the manufacturers. So there's waiting lists for people for golf carts upwards to a year. So what we want to do is we want to get the orders in so we can have those golf carts on order so we can start getting ahead of the curve. And hopefully the demand will meet the manufacturing as well. So the plan is to replace the carts every 8 years, the whole amount of fleet, but every 2 years, a quarter of the fleet. So we are consistently bringing in new carts as the older ones start to need to be replaced.
And Troy, so based off old numbers, to do that quarter, to replace a quarter of the fleet every 2 years, it would take about $1 million to make that possible, right? Is that what I heard?
In general, yes, but that's with the latest information. But I know that that the cost of the golf carts are going up dramatically every week, every month, every year. So.
And so I'm sorry, go ahead. Did I cut you off?
No, you.
So just hearing that and then looking at this chart, right? 250 increase based off of 2021 total revenue, $1,260,000 versus a $2.50 increase, which gets you to $1,660,000. You're, what's the math there? That's about a $400,000 increase every year. So 800,000 over 2 years. It sounds like even at the highest end of this, we're not hitting the number that we know is going to be higher due to all the challenges you just mentioned from a procurement standpoint, even if we shot for the highest increase here. So shooting low sets ourselves up for failure based off of those metrics, right?
That's correct. And my $1 million is probably a little bit conservative, knowing what we are going to be challenged with in the future. So I'm thinking not just this year, but what's it going to cost us? And I'm thinking it's going to be down the road at the end of that 8-year cycle to try to get things, make sure that we have enough money in the bank, continually keeping that fund in the positive black area, knowing that those prices are going to increase. So that's kind of what I'm looking at.
So in my opinion, me and Michael's generation, we would be able to stomach that extra $2.50 if we knew where it was going. But I want to kind of hear from Richard and Nancy, your groups that you play with day in and day out. What do you think they would be able to realistically stomach in terms of a cart increase?
Now, are we talking, by the way, because I don't have my copy, are we talking about per person or per cart?
Cart.
Just
No.
in general.
So, I mean, it's, if we raised it to 250, that would be, when you say cart,
Half cart.
that would be a half cart fee.
Mhm.
And so,
It's
there's
going-
two things to think about. First of all, because I think we will be going up on our fees too. And I might have a slightly different take on it to say that sometimes it's easier to for people who are on fixed incomes or who have a lot of extra expenses for kids that they're putting out to handle it gradually as it goes up, as opposed to having sticker shock. And if we're me, I'll probably side more with the $1.50 where Nancy is, just because I think we're going up with our fees also, we want to make sure that we don't have people pushing back and, you know, we've got a great thing going. I think we need to keep it going. That's just where I'm coming from.
Okay, thank you, Richard. Nancy?
Well, I do see that. Yeah, I agree with Richard in that. I could see doing that on the 18-hole cart fee, but leaving the 9-hole the same, which would be the half price, which is what most places do for their 9-hole fees. And I get that, and maybe that should be this should be a consideration when we talk about the regular fees too. Because people will see, oh gosh, this is costing a lot more each time I go. And you know, $5 isn't going to probably break anybody's bank, but it might make people decide to walk instead of ride in the cart more than they had in the past. So now you've got less takers of the cart. So
Yeah, I mean, and I asked that question because, you know, Michael and I, we have these conversations darn near every time we go out in public. And we bring it up and, you know, and just passing conversation. And from and I don't want to put words in Michael's mouth here, but he hears the same thing I do. Our group wants to see everything kind of progress. And they're like, yep, we're good with whatever you need to do. We want to see course conditions improve, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Do what you need to do. But I also want to be cognizant of everybody as a whole and not run people off, run a certain demographic off. So that's valuable information to me. In making this decision, because when I look at it, I'm like, yep. From I hear, I'm like, yep. Let's do the 250. Let's do this thing right. Let's do it, you know, the right way the first time, right? So we're not coming back every 6 months and having the same conversation. But in terms of gradual increase, totally hear you there, Richard. So I would be, I mean, I'm in favor of the $1.50 increase. You know, when I look at the discrepancy between the 250 and the $1.50, it looks like it's about $110,000 or so, more or less. So, yeah, if this is what we need to get to eventually. So, I mean, I don't know what your thoughts are, Michael. I'll let you kind of piggyback off of that, but I know we have a lot of the similar conversations with our group of golfers.
Yeah, and like I don't want the term our group, like just when that's said. So like, and I do this when I go to Mac Park and whether I'm by myself or I'm with my kids and we're chipping and putting on the putting green, which I go do very regularly. Like I'll ask people out there, like, hey, you know, did you play today? What do you think? Tell me, how do you feel about the city courses? And that is not categorized specifically as, you know, a 30-year-old guy with 2 kids and his buddies golfing. That to me is more of an accurate representation of the greater whole. And the response is almost always some version of like, I love the Wichita courses. I love the accessibility. I wish the experience was better. And I have talked about this on these calls regularly about how like the customer experience, you know, when you're asking people to pay X amount of dollars, whatever it is, there's an expectation of what you get out of it. And so if we're going to raise these prices, you know, the experience theoretically gets better if you're somebody who rides in a newer cart with a USB charger in it. Now you can charge your phone, or it doesn't have a flat tire, whatever it may be. The brakes don't squeal. I don't know if those things matter. But I just want to say, like, when I ask people questions about what do you think of the state of public golf in Wichita, city golf in Wichita, it's usually about, hey man, here's what I like, and then what would I improve? I would like the overall experience to be better. Course quality, you know, I wish X, Y, and Z maybe happened in the clubhouse, and you know, maybe a cart plays a role in all of that. So I'm in favor of the increase, $1.50. That gives us, based off these numbers, 200 and $89,000 every year. So you're looking at, you know, 600,000 almost every other year or every 2 years to do the replacement Troy talked about. I'm in favor of it. I think it improves the experience for somebody who's going to ride in a cart. So sorry for the tangent.
Yeah.
Just to let you know, it can expand from an 8-year cycle to a 10-year cycle, depending on how well those carts last. And so I just want to make sure that we are collecting enough money to make sure that we have quality carts. And that's one of the things that I think I hear quite often is the carts are not top notch. And is there any way that we can make improvements to that? So whether it's we're collecting $600,000 every 2 years, $700,000 every 2 years. If it's worst case scenario, we can always push the cycle out even longer. But that just means that we might have some situations where some of those golf carts are not very good. So
and Troy, I'll say this, like when I say experience too, let me be clear when I'm talking about that from my perspective, it starts and is driven. It's driven mainly by your experience with the golf course itself. So yes, we're talking about something that's important, improvement of the carts and rate increases. It does matter. But I do think the experience starts, and the majority of the impact of that experience comes from how are the greens? How are the fairways? How are the tee boxes? How was my experience on the course? When that stuff's good, people will put up with a cart that squeals every time you turn. Nobody cares. But you know, when that stuff's not as good, the whole experience kind of suffers, and then the cart becomes a bigger issue. So I think it's important, but there's certainly other areas I think that are equally as important or more important, and this is, you know, just one of them in a list of them.
I would agree with a lot of what Michael said. And you're using the word experience, and absolutely the experience is on the course. The value comes probably from other places in addition to that. So if people will put up with the squeaky brakes, I mean, some of you probably remember 5 or so years ago, the carts were really, really bad shape, and but people still rented them. But people knowing where this money is going to go, knowing that it's for the maintenance as well as for the replacement of those carts, I think they'll be okay with that. But as the courses improve in the golfer's experience, I think then we can increase prices because they're getting value in the golf course too.
The only thing I'd like to throw in, and that is, we have seen some pretty good numbers for our concessions. And part of it is they're available when they show up. Do they think that, I just worry that if we go, there's a psychological point, I don't know where it is, where they say, you know, I'm paying extra for the cart, and I'm not gonna go in and buy the food, and actually I'd like to see the price of food increase a little bit to allow us to be able to provide for a better experience inside. And so because I think we need it, and it's got to come from somewhere. And so I was going to suggest the increase for concessions, because I have been talking to people because I can't play, and a lot of them talk about the total experience, but it includes the clubhouse. And so, as I said, it's just how you slice it, and but it would cover the whole situation and not just the carts, because, as I said, we need to raise fees. There's no doubt about it. And anyway, I've said my piece. Thank you.
The other item I just want to add as well is we've had some situations where we ran out of carts, or the demand for carts is really high, and it's difficult to turn them over. So you also want to make sure that we have enough in our fleet. And I think this will help us with that as well. I want to make sure that we, and that was one of the other reasons why I was really wanting to put this into a plan so we can actually start replacing carts. And if we need to, we can make sure that we have a sufficient amount on hand.
That's an excellent point.
So Nancy asked the question, how often do we run out of carts? I'll ask the golf pros to weigh in on that. Keith, we muted you. We
text-
didn't hear your phone call.
Okay. You ready? We're running out of carts here on busy days when we're doing 200 to 250 or more rounds. We're having electric cart problems. The gas carts are fine. I've had electrician out over the last couple of days checking our outlets, our wiring. We've got new chargers, new batteries, but yet we get about 9 carts that aren't charging. So we're trying to troubleshoot it down to where we can find out why that's happening. But yes, we are running out of carts here because of that.
Scott?
Scott is having audio problems. He told me he cannot hear you guys.
Okay.
But he's here.
Steve?
I typically will run out of carts about 10 times in the middle of the summer when it's really hot. Typically July, August, I've got 67 carts available, and with my pace of play being pretty good, most of the time they're coming in before I run out. So I don't have a huge problem. If I had 5 more carts, I wouldn't ever have to worry about it. But with the 67 I have, as long as I keep them up and running, they typically come back in time for when I need them.
I'm not sure how old our electric carts are here, but if there's going to be any replaced, that might be the bunch that gets replaced first.
Yeah, that was kind of the plan, was really to phase out all the electric. We can go with the same cart all the way through.
Well, is everybody in agreement on the $1.50 cart increase? If so, we can make that recommendation to the park board. Troy, you mentioned it won't be this next Monday, but the meeting after that, potentially. I guess, what's the timeline?
You're right. So it'll be in the June meeting. In the June meeting.
And then does that have to get approved from council?
It does. And so I'll probably take it to council as soon as I possibly can.
Okay. Okay, well, I mean, I'm good with that if you guys are, so.
I'm
All right.
good.
We'll take that recommendation to the park board.
Thanks.
So the next item is very similar in regards to the fees for the memberships. We've been talking about this for a long, long time, and this is only the memberships, not the any of the other fees. So this was provided last month. Of course, I need to get a little bit closer. So that's fine. So in each one of these categories, you have the adult membership, the couples membership, junior membership, and the senior membership. And with each one of these corresponds the percentage of increase, what that increase will be, and what the new monthly fee would be. And so, again, as I mentioned, we are definitely looking at some serious increases just to compete for hourly wages for all of our seasonal staff. So I'm trying to make sure that we are staying ahead of the ballgame so we don't fall into the red, that we stay in the black. And these extra revenues, I think, will really help us in making sure that we are competitive with our hourly wages and also with all the other expenses that we're going to be experiencing. So I think this is pretty familiar to you guys because I think we've shared this with you guys a couple times. So just wanted to get your input and hopefully some type of recommendation as to what direction to go.
I'd like to say that everybody that's got their membership should know that they're getting the steel and that this adjustment, had it been going on for 3 years, it would have paid a whole lot more. And so I'm for the 15% across the board. It's time, and there has to be some relationship with the benefit that they're getting and what's being paid, and at 15% is still a steal.
I agree with that, Richard.
I'm good with that as well.
I just paid for mine and I'm more than happy to let it take a 15% hit. So I'm in favor.
All right. So I'll take these recommendations to the park board in June and keep you guys appraised of how we go along. So I appreciate the opportunity to share this with you all because my biggest concern is I don't want to go back to a situation where we're back in the red and I have to come up with creative ideas and city manager is asking me to go one direction and council is giving me other directions as well. The more that we stay in the black, the easier it is for us to operate. So this is going to be helpful. So thank you.
Well, just a quick question. So based off those numbers, the 15% increase gives us about $15,000 in extra monthly revenue, right? 180,000 over a year, if I'm doing the numbers right. So based off April 2022 total revenue was 101, and with that 15% increase, is that saying it's projecting it would be at 116,480?
Yep.
Okay, so 15,000 extra a month, 180 over the course of the year. My first question, I have no idea if, again, kind of talking about what we were talking about earlier, is like, how do we track, if it's possible, where that $180,000 is going to be pumped back into the system for improvements to whatever it may be? Hey, great, $180,000 annually that we've created. Where does that go? I know some of it's got to go to paying staff and the increased rates, but like, is that trackable based off where it goes once it's generated?
So that's going to be really difficult to do, but what I think we're going to really be looking at all this really going to wages more than anything else, because we're looking at $2, $3 an hour increase for a lot of our seasonals, and that's going to be a huge impact on that bottom line. And so I really think that this is where a lot of this money is going to go towards. Now, obviously, the more rounds that we sell, obviously that margin increases and helps us out. But last year we were at 176,000 rounds thereabouts, and we're on track to go a little bit more than that. But I would imagine that on a regular basis, if we look 2, 3, 4, 5 years down the road, we'll probably be right around that 175 to 185,000 rounds a year. So by maximizing where we're at right now, we're plateauing. And there's gonna have to be other ways for us to make sure that we're competitive with our wages.
Okay.
I'd like to, since we're talking about this, I'd like to just throw out the one thing I was talking about earlier, and that is of having a program where we raise our concession prices with a big sign that says this, buy more and get a better place.
Mhm.
And that tells them that it really goes back into and feeds the for better chairs and better tables and better experience. So I think people will buy more and not less if they really think that it's going to go directly toward a better experience, which I think in the long run will allow us to sell more anyway. So is it possible, Mr. Feinstock, to look into that to see if that has legs?
Richard, my comment to that, my response to that would be, show me, don't tell me. If I'm a consumer, show me that, don't tell me that.
Yeah, I agree.
So one of the things,
I'm
and
not sure. Could you explain that to me, Mike? 'Cause
Yeah, if I walk into Mac Park, which Keith knows I do, and there's a sign that says buy 3 more hot dogs, it'll come back, pay 30 cents extra for the hot dog you're gonna buy, it's gonna come back to you. That doesn't make me feel any better about the increase. But when I walk in and there's a flat screen TV and the new chairs you're talking about or something in there looks different, and then I go, hey, the hot dogs are 30 cents more. Well, there you go. That's why. So my response to that is show me those changes. Don't tell me they're coming. That doesn't do me any good.
So you would spend the money now and then tell them that's where it's going?
If I was running a facility, yes.
Okay. I'd be all for that.
That's called reinvesting in your product to fuel growth down the road.
I would agree with that.
I think it's really important to really see what the upgrades are. And we were talking a little bit earlier about the golf experience, and Michael, you and Nancy really talked a little bit about the quality of the golf course itself. And my priority is not the food and beverage right now. It's to make sure that we have enough equipment to make sure that we can operate, to make sure that we have updated our irrigation system, pump houses, so we can make sure we have water for the grass. Just the basic functions is what the priority, from my perspective, is. And then once we meet those goals, you'll see improvements to the golf courses, and you'll see improvements on the fairways and the greens and tees. You'll see improvements on the golf carts. Eventually, that really feeds in, starts to work in on taking care of the extras that we want to do as far as the upgrades. Yeah. So if I don't have the opportunity to have quality staff, that's not going to help us in the long run. If I don't have the resources to replenish our cart fleet, that's not going to help us in the long run. If I don't have resources to make sure that the mowers and tractors are operable, those are the things that the basics that we just really need to focus on first. And that's what I've really been trying to make sure we have those resources to make that happen. After we get that done, I think it's great to really look at all the other bells and whistles that we need to do to get people to come to the golf courses.
All for that. Green grass, good greens, decent tee boxes. It all starts there. All for that.
Yep.
Well, good. I appreciate, again, this conversation. Take all this to the park board and we'll keep you guys appraised.
I've got a question, just because it directly affects me. is there a built-in where the memberships pay a 1 year, when it goes, or $1 green fee goes towards turf equipment? And I know that memberships make a payment one time a year in November. Would there be an increase with that also, or?
No.
That would stay?
Yeah.
But at the same time, higher income from other places, that money can also go towards equipment. So,
That is correct.
yeah, or other things.
Yep. All right. Next item is financial report, and I think I sent out March financial reports right after our meeting. The way this is happening, the cycle, is I don't get a chance to get all the financial reports for the previous month because we're so new into this. We haven't even closed April yet. So I don't have financial reports for you for April, but we will definitely send that out once I get the financial report. Next item is the rounds reports. And Applehunt's, it's her favorite thing to do. She looks forward to this every month to give the rounds report. She was talking to me about it this morning, how excited. She was telling me that it's the Golf Advisory Committee meeting today because she gets to do the rounds reports.
All right, so we've got the rounds report here up on the screen. This is actually the first month in a while where we've seen any type of decline, even with a really small backward slope at sim for rounds. We're still up 4% across the division, and we saw huge growth at McDonald. Keith mentioned, they're doing over 220 rounds on Saturdays and Sundays, and that's not the norm for McDonald. It used to be in the 120 to 160 range on a really good day out there. So the growth there is just huge, and I'm sure Keith is feeling it on the weekends. He's not used to moving this fast. When we look at just the month of April compared to last year, we see growth there too, up 3%, and we see a jump at Tex and at Mac. The cart rentals, 15% increase at McDonald's, so that just goes in line with the conversation we had about increasing the cart fees. We see a 3% increase, 10% increase there in the division. Just the first 4 months, we've brought in over $250,000 in cart rentals. So everything looks good there. F&B, this is the one that shocked all of us the most. We saw a 51% increase from 2021 to 2022. And we could explain it when it happened in 2020 going into 21, because we had 2 courses that were closed for a few weeks. And then we were not selling concessions in the majority of the first 6 months of 2020. I don't think we opened up the F&B operation until June, I believe. You guys can correct me if I'm wrong there. So to see that continued growth in 2022 is just wow. And I talked to some of the pros and I said, what do you attribute this to? Do you think, it's more tournaments? And they said, no. I said, is it members that are buying more food? And they said, no, we're seeing it with everybody that comes in. Scott was telling me about a lot of out-of-town traffic that he's seeing on the weekends, and they're just spending a lot of money in concessions and in the pro shop buying merchandise. So it's exciting. That brings us into merchandise. There's lots of growth there, and you can see 29% at Sim. And the public is definitely taking advantage of having more inventory in there. Colin was able to purchase his own now that he is the golf professional there and has a contract with the city. So we're going to continue to see lots more inventory at that facility. We're up 15% in the division, which is great. The memberships, I just keep getting surprised every month. Right after I run the batch, the first of the month, we just start processing like crazy. And this month, we're almost at 1,600 members, and that's the highest I've seen it, I think, since 2012. Even when we were doing just the annual season passes. So it's obviously a great deal people are taking advantage of. One of the things that we implemented this month is, now that we've had such a high spike in memberships, we want to see when people cancel, why they're canceling. So on the cancellation forms, we've added that question on there. Tell us why you're canceling your membership. And so we're going to start to track those efforts and see where this big spike takes us. If we continue to grow, if we plateau, or if we start to go down. We're going to have some information behind that. If we do start to go down, we're going to find out why people are leaving. Driving range, this is the one area where we did see a drop. Yet we did see increase at Tex Consolver by 8%. And I would like to attribute that to the beers and balls special that Steve rolls out. I think that's an amazing value for golfers to get 2 buckets and a 6-pack of domestic beers and go out on the driving range and just kick back, relax, practice your golf, and have a drink. I think that's a great deal he's offering. It's almost a $10 savings for golfers when they take advantage of that. And then obviously we had a pretty wet April. We had some frost delays, and only Sim had carts on path one day. So overall weather wasn't terrible.
Very windy. Below everything.
That's all I got.
Okay. Well, since Ron is here, and there's all this work that we're going to be doing over at McDonald, can you provide a little bit of a timetable and update?
Yes, we had a pre-construction meeting towards the end of March. A contractor thought they're about 10 weeks out, so we're looking at begin work. So we're looking first part of June. Sure you're all familiar, but basically on all the lakes that hold water for irrigation, the overflow structures have failed. I mean, just in the last 2 days, we failed to catch almost $20,000 worth of water. You know, that if it was turning hot, didn't get any rain, we'd be buying that in city waters, and that's what we could have captured. So that all the ponds, the dams are going to be redone, be restored to the level they should be. One of the big things that will help out also is with aesthetics, like the lake on in front of 12 Green doesn't hold water. Weeds grew up down in the mud. It's hard to try to even get in there and take care of. So that's going to be a great thing. The bridge on 12 will be repaired. The bridge on 17 will be replaced, and the bridge on hole number 6 will be replaced. So the city, from their engineering, that they're allowing a 2-month window to do this work. I know I talked with Wildcat about 3 years ago for doing all this same work, and they thought like each dam they're looking at, like 2 days. It's not anything really major. So hopefully the weather will cooperate to where they can get in there and do the work. Keith and I have discussed how we will, hopefully, the guy with city engineering, he said, well, we'll just have the back 9 closed for 2 months. And I said, no, that's not going to happen. Having the back 9 closed in June and July. So, on the holes where they are doing the work and that we plan on, we talked about concentrating in one spot, not having a little bit going on at each of the sites, to where, for instance, number 11, we maybe move the tees up 150 yards. It's temporary par 3 during the day. They should be out of there at 3:34 in the afternoon every day. So, it won't affect evening leagues or people that come out and pay the green fee after work to play. So, and hopefully we can keep it to where it's, only affecting maybe at most 2 or worse 3 holes at a time, or we're, playing temporary distances during the day. So, but it's this project on the lakes. It's, in spending $320,000, and it's probably going to pay for itself in 5 to 6 years. So just in water savings. So it's glad to get it going and be glad to have it done.
All right, thank you. And one other update, we completed the removal of all the dead trees, not all the dead trees, but we ended up removing somewhere in the neighborhood of about 200 dead trees, as well as grinding, I think it was over 100 stumps. And we got a great price for that. That actually came out of the general fund. So glad that that project is over with, and hopefully the aesthetics in the golf course looks a little bit better as all these trees start to leaf out and look green again. Eddie, I'll turn it to you.
Who wants to go next?
Any of the pros want to give an update? Any of the pros want to share what's going on?
Oh, yeah, I can. I can give you a perspective from Tex. We had a surprisingly good April with the wind that we had. I mean, it was insane. There's not much to block it out at my facility. So I was really kind of shocked by our numbers we did in April. So that's all going good. Our fairways, the Bermuda's starting to green up. And with the last 2 days of rain and it being close to 90 early next week, I would imagine everything will really be popping. Our leagues are forming and we're getting good numbers for those. High school golf is, I've got one event left next week and that's wrapping up. Pro shop's coming along, getting all my merchandise in, almost completely stocked. And yeah, we just need some good weather and we got plenty of demand right now.
Keith?
Well, I'm still trying to stock up. It's hard to get some of the product, but over the next couple of weeks, I got a lot more stuff coming in. My only concern is I have one new person starting on Monday, a new hire, and the rotation of the assistant pro will be here next week also, so that'll help. The only concern I have is the cart situation and finding out why our carts aren't charging, because it's causing a little concern among our golfers that they're having to wait on carts. It's always a headache. So we're doing, I think, 3 days out of the past couple of weeks, we've had over 250 rounds a day. It's just crazy. So it is going gangbusters. We're just trying to keep up at this point.
What did the electrician say?
Everything, the panel, the wiring, and the outlets were all good. We had a couple of breakers tripped that day, but we've got 9 carts. I've made a spreadsheet, started charting it. We've got 9 carts that aren't charging overnight. So we're going to try to move those carts to a different charger to see if the charger, the brand new charger, is at fault. But I'm beginning to think it's the port where you plug the cord of the charger into the battery system, because it's all new batteries last year, brand new chargers this year. So there's something in the wiring of the cart, I think, that's causing the issue.
Yeah, and we don't know how old those electric carts are.
I think, I'm not sure, but 2012 maybe? I don't know.
Yeah, probably the cart. Cool. Thank you, Keith. Can Scott hear us yet?
I don't think so.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm on.
Oh,
Hey,
Can you hear me?
perfect. Yep, we got you.
Technology, that's fun. So at Auburn, same as Steve and Keith and Colin, I mean, busy days, 250 plus. Have had days where we're still flipping carts and waiting on carts at 4 o'clock in the afternoon. So good problem to have. Most of our patrons and guests have been very understanding that, pace of play and just the lack of carts necessitated delay. But for the most part, from that standpoint, we're in pretty good shape. This week, Monday, Tuesday, on some relatively questionable days, we just hosted a District 16 or 17 junior college event with schools from Texas to St. Louis to Kansas City to Heston here. So good reviews from them. Next, in 2 weeks, we really start the gauntlet with our tournaments. I think all total right now, we're at about between 38 and 42 events for the year. Just landed another double shotgun in July for Coke Industries. So, it's been busy. And, as Keith alluded to, we've got a new assistant, Greg, that's kind of been training a little bit. Unfortunately, this week he hasn't got a whole lot of training because it's been raining every day he's been here. So from that standpoint, we're going in the right direction. I know that the superintendents are needing some little warmer weather to get that warm season grass growing. And now that we've got the rain, now the cool season's growing and they don't have enough staff. But, we're managing at this point.
Cool. All right, anybody else?
We did get a couple positions filled, for the account clerk too. We got that filled and, gentleman starting May 31st. And we got, what was the other one? An offer to a greenskeeper at Auburn Hills. So we're doing pretty good.
Good. Glad to hear it. President's update. We played in the golf marathon a few weeks back. I haven't heard the official numbers, but I know we raised over $45,000. So junior golfers will be able to play for free out at our golf courses this year, and hopefully continue that moving on in the future. It was a good event, got some new blood in there, and generated some excitement. So nothing like growing the game.
I've got one question.
I was gonna say, on that note, that deserves some kudos. I went to lunch today and heard that was double the amount that's ever been raised historically. And I wasn't even aware that this was possible. So this is super cool that the pros, know that this is available and that kids in Wichita have access to this. If a kid walks into our city golf courses and they fill out the sheet for the golf marathon, they do not pay $1 to play golf. It comes out of this fund that raised like 50 grand. So I thought that was super cool, and kudos to Eddie and everybody else. I know First Tee's a huge factor in that as well. That's awesome news for not just the golf program, but the city as a whole. That's super cool.
Thanks.
Sorry, Rick.
Yeah, is it possible to just ask the pros to provide something that would, from their standpoint, get their opinion whether or not improved tables, chairs, TVs, whether or not they believed it would increase sales, or just try one course just to see if it works? Because I believe we're leaving money out on the at the clubhouse, and I don't see a lot of people inside when I go, and I just love to hear what the pros had to say about whether or not they think it would be an investment if we could raise the money through increased sales and prices.
So I can definitely ask the pros for that. I think that would not necessarily come from Eddie. I think that would come from.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
So, I mean, Eddie is great, but he doesn't manage the staff.
Okay,
So,
I'm sorry.
but that's okay. I would be more than happy to get that information. And I totally agree that anything that we make improvement inside the clubhouse is aesthetic wise. And we talked about this 3 years ago when we talked about actually making some improvements over at MAC, trying to find some fundraising to do that. There's no doubt and there's no question, and I think we all agree that any kind of increase of the aesthetics of all the clubhouses will make a positive impact. I think so.
I just think people would pay higher fee if they knew that it was an investment.
So I'll make this a survey question. We'll do a Survey Monkey to staff about that, and we'll bring those results next time. But I just wanted to make sure that you understood that I have the basic operations of operating the facility first. And because if we don't have green grass, if we don't have mowers,
No, I totally understand.
then we can't really
Yeah.
even have a good clubhouse.
I
but-
totally understand what you're
But I
talking
think
about.
once we get past that, and we feel comfortable that there's definitely great opportunities to make investments into the clubhouses. So,
I just think people might be willing to pay in advance or something, because I don't think we're talking a lot of money.
So what's stopping, Richard, what's stopping you from going out and raising that money then?
Stop
Or
me.
anybody at all? I mean, we all agree that it would be fantastic, but where does that come from? More than likely, it probably has to come from a private donor.
No, I'm saying that it would come from slight increases in the fees. The prices for concessions is literally say, we're gonna raise the prices a fairly small amount, because I do believe that when you actually, if you sit down and you look, because we did at one point, looked at the kind of money that you would need to just, as I said, tables, chairs, and TVs. It's fairly manageable. It's a small amount, and I think that and I'm in 2 leagues, and I have no problem in talking to the leagues about adopting this as a program and seeing how it goes. Yeah, I'm all for it. I'll be glad to spend some time doing that.
so I guess that would be a similar program as our golf carts, that certain percentage of the concession sales goes to upgrading the clubhouses.
Yeah, I mean, just and maybe we do a survey monkey to the folks out there and to the members and ask them if that's something that they would be willing to pay. I mean, no harm in asking.
We'll work on a survey. Yeah. Okay.
All right. Anything else, guys? Thanks, everybody.
Hey, I have I got one last comment.
Yep.
One last one for today. Troy, I don't know who drove this. I saw the volunteer day opportunity application for the city golf courses. I think that's awesome. My only feedback on that is it's at a very challenging time for an individual like myself on Tuesday from 8 a.m. to noon. I'm gonna do my best to try and get out there. I think it's a fantastic idea. It's a much needed idea. The timing of it makes it very difficult for people who I know would like to help to go do it. It's just not feasible within their work schedules, their family schedules, whatever it may be. But great idea, whoever pushed that forward. I don't know if there's an opportunity to work on the time slots, but I'll do the best I can to be involved and try and find people to be involved. So just wanted to put that out there.
Can you elaborate on that, Keith? What this is?
I'm sorry, I was busy answering a text. What was the question?
Well,
So-
can you elaborate about your looking for a volunteer?
That's Ron's issue. They volunteered on course, not with me.
Oh,
So
with
one of
Ron.
the things that we're looking at is, when's the best time to have the least amount of impact on golf operation? And so that's when we're looking for volunteers, is when there's opportunities for them to actually do work without having an impact on the golf operations. That's one of the things, and I think you want to share.
Yeah, so we actually started this program last September, and we rotated each course the second Tuesday of the month. And we brought it back this month. We haven't had anybody sign up, so we're still trying to push this initiative and get groups. But I really want to stress, if you want to volunteer, reach out to your superintendent and they will coordinate a time with you to help if this time does not work for your schedule. We will not turn you away. I promise.
Noted.
I'm sorry, I'm still needing just so this has been going on last year and then now this year, the second Tuesday of each month at each golf course from 8 to noon.
They rotate. So
Oh, okay.
Nancy, I'll send you the webpage link and you can take a look at it.
Okay, yeah, I could find some ladies that could help, but I don't know what are the tasks? What kind of?
It's very simple stuff, you know, helping pick up around a pond or pulling trash or debris out of a parking lot, landscaping, stuff around the clubhouse. They're not going to put a chainsaw in your hand. They're gonna they're gonna give you things that
There's a
you're
little backhoe work to do here.
Oh, I do that too. Okay, all right. Thank you, Shannon. Thank
Yeah, we had a great turnout for our very first one last September. I think there was almost 20 people there, and we had a very promising opportunity with the Air Force Base. They were bringing a group out. We just got to continue to generate that buzz and tell people about it. We've put posters up in the clubhouses, trying to bring more awareness to it. And I think just the more our staff talks about it behind the counter, the more people are going to be and up to do it.
That sounds good.
Yeah, I got hit with a Facebook ad for it. So kudos to whoever did that. That's how you got me.
I know how to get you, Michael.
I don't know how to take that.
On that note, we can adjourn if nobody has anything else.
All right, thanks.
Nancy, it looks like Michael posted in the chat here the link to the volunteer day. So FYI.
Okay.
Thanks, everybody.
All right, bye.
Bye.
Here, everyone.
Did you get your parking validated?